Hello and welcome to Esoteriliana. Thank you so much for joining me in this video on the Hermetic Principles, aka the universal laws or natural law. This is probably the most important video that I'm going to put on my channel ever as of the making of this video, so I really hope that you soak in this information, share it if you like it. It has changed my life and my understanding of the world and how the universe works, and I hope it does the same for you. Okay, so let's start off with Hermetic principles and what that actually means. So Hermetic comes from the term Hermes, which is a man, some people say a god, in ancient Greece, and he derived these principles from ancient Egyptian knowledge. The equivalent of Hermes is Thoth in Egypt, and Thoth and Hermes are, what they mean is the messenger of the gods. So that tells you about the importance of these messages. And the equivalent of this figure, I would say, is Mercury in planetary terms. So if you want to learn more about the planets and stuff. And principles comes from principia, which means what is first and foremost. So these are the most fundamental pieces of information that you need in order to begin your journey. And so, before I start, last thing is that these are principles that have been kept hidden. Select few people know about. Most people have a sense for these things, but they don't verbalize them or don't articulate them because they don't actually know for certain. But these are essentially the laws that govern the universe, and they supersede any man-made law that we could ever create. And the first three laws are immutable. So everyone is subject to them. We're all subject to all of them, right? But the last four are laws that you are able to transcend if you so choose. And there are people who do that and allow other people to stay submerged and subject to the lower four laws. So, okay, let's begin. The first law is mentalism. This law states that all is mind. The universe is mental. So we essentially live in a giant brain. That's a giant field of energy, of electric pulses, of the mind. Everything is mental. And I would recommend reading this book called The Field by Lynn McTaggart or something. If you want to learn more about the field, it's very closely related to this principle of mentalism. The second law is correspondence. Correspondence states that as above, so below, as below, so above. So there are these different planes. We have the physical, the mental, and the spiritual, and there is correspondence along these planes. So what happens in the macrocosm happens in the microcosm, and vice versa. What happens in the microcosm occurs in the macrocosm. So essentially what this is saying is that in our day-to-day life, the tiniest thing that we do gets reflected in larger systems, in our atmosphere, in the broader world and universe, okay? And the opposite is the same. So if you see climate change or you see disrupted systems, it means that within the smallest microcosm, there is that disruption. And so that just shows that creating alignment within helps to create alignment outside of you as well. So that's a super important principle. Number 3 is vibration. Quantum physics is finally proving this, but vibration, this principle states that everything vibrates, everything moves, nothing is completely still. And this can be seen at the atomic level, subatomic level, and this can be seen in the larger universal level. But basically everything has energy, everything is alive. with energy. This one is huge because it shows how everything is connected. Every intention, every thought, emotion, action is felt and has is manifest in waves or particles and affects other things. But we'll talk about that later. The fourth law, which is we are able to transcend if we so choose, is polarity. This just states that everything has an opposite, but they are the same. They are different. They only vary in degree. Essentially, all paradoxes can be reconciled. All truths are but half-truths, and they can be reconciled. So this one is super important in our current reality, in our political times, because we see so much dualism, so many contradicting beliefs and ideas and perspectives that both have truths in them, but most people are unable to reconcile them, even though that is the ultimate truth. You can reconcile the two halves. This goes for in magnets, positive and negative, the light and dark, the Democrats and Republicans, whatever split you want to make, they are the same thing, just they vary in degree. And this is a big principle in terms of seeking that truth, seeking that point of reconciliation, of balance, and seeing where the falsities lie in when you see an imbalance ideologically, physically, etc. So this one's pretty big. The next one is rhythm. Rhythm just states that the pendulum swing manifests in everything. There is a rise and fall. There are currents, there are cycles, there are seasons. There's a breathing in and breathing out of everything. There's an up and a down. Everyone knows this, You can feel ecstatic and then feel tired and sad. There are these fluctuations constantly. And people are able to rise above them and allow them to manifest on the physical plane and not be thrown off mentally, spiritually, etc. So that is an option, And then the second to last one is cause and effect. This one is also known as karma or the law of attraction. It basically states that every effect has its cause and every cause its effect. Chance is just states is just a cause not recognized or perceived. So everything really does happen for a reason, and most people sometimes don't know what that reason is, but every cause has an effect. As I mentioned, every thought, intention, emotion, action has consequences that allows for manifestation. So raising your vibration, having positive intentions can create that in your physical reality. And so that is where the law of attraction has gained so much popularity, because you can actually attract things that are on a similar vibration as you are and as your intentions are. So this one is huge, but it also indicates that if you choose to mess with the rhythm, mess with the balance, create an imbalance, or have an intent to harm, that'll also create ripple effects, which ultimately come back, because we are all connected, because we are in an infinite connected field. And then lastly, we have gender. The principle of gender states that gender manifests on all planes. And this doesn't necessarily mean men and women, or but rather masculine and feminine energies. You see this in nature with the sperm and the egg, or you see this in geometry. You see this in organic life forms, in the body of a man and a woman. You see this in anything that involves receptive energy and assertive energy. So this is a huge one because this is also known as the generative principle, and this just states that with this union of the masculine and the feminine, and I'll make a video on the masculine and the feminine, you have this split that when combined and fused allows for creation. It allows for a returning to source and the giving birth of life and the manifestation of your intentions of a new reality. So gender is super important and often overlooked and seen as this dual relationship, when in reality it's a beautiful principle when harnessed, can be used to create. Many people ignore the power of gender and resort to dualistic views on man and woman, and try to repress that energy to prevent the fusion of this beautiful balance. So this one's a big one. Another last thing with gender is that in order to generate, you have to combine the divine masculine and the divine feminine ultimately for pure creation. And that what is necessary in that, what drives that creation is care, which is largely a feminine aspect. But if you don't care about something, it won't grow, it won't live. However, the more you care and the more effort and love that you put into whatever project, person, etc., that is what manifests. So it's huge. Whatever you care about, if you care about money, that's what you'll attract. It might not make you happy, but that is what you will create. If you care about people and relationships, they will grow, they will prosper. So I'm just going to leave these laws, these principles here for you. I hope you can take full advantage of them and use them for good and align yourself with the broader balance that this universe seeks. So thank you for joining me. Please like, subscribe, share, and see you later.